Okay, running changes on 4L60 to 4L65E. The first thing that you're going to notice is the spacer plate changed. Now I have here an old spacer plate, and you can see the filters there, the EPC filter and the shift solenoids filter or screens. And this is the old one that came out, and the new one is already installed on the transmission. This is a molded spacer plate. It has the gaskets molded on the plate itself, and you can see the screens there. There is one screen here, there's another one here, and you can see the pressure control solenoid screen here. Now that in a nutshell creates a little bit of problem if the transmission becomes too dirty. The reason for that is that the surface area of the screen becomes smaller, it becomes less. As you can see here on these screens, you have the same surface area, but you have it on both sides, and it protrudes inside the case itself. And you can see here the shift solenoid screen as well. Now, with that being said, if you have the pressure control solenoid screen getting restricted with debris, you will have slipping or gear ratio error codes, and you will have a premature failure of clutches in the band. And if you have a restriction in the shift solenoid feed screen, then you will have either shift solenoid codes or a restriction in the shift solenoid feed as well. So just educate your customer that you have to, on these particular units, they need regular service intervals, and they need to be serviced regularly. Now, another thing new that came out in mid 2007 and all 2008 and up, it's a turbine speed sensor, and I was going to film that while I had this thing disassembled, but here is the connector for the turbine speed sensor. The input shaft on the drum has a reluctor to pick up the speed of the turbine shaft. So that becomes your turbine speed sensor or input speed sensor. And what we see here is the connector that actually connects here. I always put this on out of the way to the side, when I'm mounting the valve body to the case. Another thing that it is very important that after rebuild that you do a fast relearn or clear your adaptation tables. And the reason for that is, if you see here, the 1-2 accumulator piston and housing, it only takes the inner spring on this model. So you don't have the outer spring, and all you have is just the inner spring. And when you go and install this, it'll go almost all the way down here. That's the way it lives in there, in the accumulator body. This is the 1-2 accumulator. And if you don't clear the adapts after rebuild, if your transmission was slipping or you have a burnt 2/4 band, once you rebuild it, the friction on the band is the way it should be. Now your transmission is grabbing and is holding the second gear drum or the 2/4 drum, and what will you have? You will have harsh 1-2 shifts, upshifts. Why is that? Because the computer on the adaptive tables, it already adapted into compensate for the slippage that you have on the up to 1 shift. So just after rebuild, go ahead and clear your transmissions adapts. Otherwise, you will have that 1-2 harsh upshift. And once you clear your adapt, you have to take it for a road test, and then you have to relearn the 1-2 upshift, the 2-3 upshifts, and the 3-4 upshift is not really necessary, but you can go ahead and do that as well. Now, this is a precision overhaul kit. This came in the kit, and it also comes with a little guide here. You have all your torque specifications, and it gives you the length of the bolts and where they should be mounted on your valve body. Now, here, what's cool about this, most of the kits will give you some type or some sort of information here. here we have the transmission connector, and here we see all the pins. You know, the pin E is a 12-volt input, so you should have ignition voltage there. Here you have the pressure switch manifold, which you have 3 normally open and 2 normally closed pressure switches, and it gives you, I mean, the resistance for the temperature sensor depending on the temperature itself. It gives you also the resistance values on all the solenoids, or actually the pin that you're actually testing, and the wire color. It gives you the fluid capacity. On this page here, it gives you the check ball locations, and this is pretty cool right here. This is the application chart. Now, in order to diagnose a transmission, it is easier if you have a chart like this, that you can see the applied elements on certain gear. So it'll help you diagnose, you know, which applied element or friction element it's failing. So this is pretty good. You know, it's a pretty good information that comes already in the overhaul kit. Now here we see the solenoid descriptions and designations. The 3-2 downshift solenoid, you know, this is the early design, the early solenoid, and the late solenoid. Actually, this is backwards. This is the late solenoid, and this is the early solid body solenoid. And here we have the torque converter clutch. This is the on-off. I don't know why they put early design, which it doesn't make much sense because this is a 2008, and here it is. So this is the on-off, and this is the pulse width modulated solenoid. Here we have the pressure control solenoid, and it looks a little different than the late design. Late design has the connector here, and that early design has the connector here. But it's the same resistance on both solenoids. And here we have both late and early shift solenoids. So with that being said, another thing that we have to notice is that the filter on 2008 models, you gotta have this cut out, because the pan has an indentation here. This valve body does not use a filler tube stop, a bracket here on this bolt. So now you don't have that bracket, and the pan has an indentation here on this corner. And if you use an earlier design filter without this cutout, you're not going to be able to assemble the pan on that. So with this being said, always you do a fast learn, or a just clear your transmissions. This transmission does not have a fast learn. Clear your transmissions, adapts, clear them, clear your tables.